I think sometimes it's fun to see somebody you admire so much as a musician be like, can I use that for something I'm working on? You're like, yes, you can.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I would love it if you do, because wouldn't be there if I didn't love your music. So
For sure.
yeah.
I think another thing that's really freaking awesome about photography is that, like, so when you take a really good picture of someone that is just like in their fucking spot, their fucking time and space, like that is who they are, and they're like they're having a great time
in their zone.
Yeah, and they everybody looks at themselves with a certain lens on. You know what I mean? When you get a great candid of somebody that is just like super happy, they see that and they're like, "What the wow!" Like, holy shit! They're like, it blows their mind sometimes, and that is just like the most rewarding thing ever.
And here we are on the Weird Music Podcast. We got Adam, Berta, and Doug Siegel in the house. We all know Adam, Weird Music OG, but Doug is a man. He's got quite the resume. He's done photo for Pearl Jam, The Who, a number of other bands. We're gonna get into it. To start things off, Berta. So I met Adam at Weird Music shows years ago. You've been in this longer than me. What impact has Weird Music shows, Weird Wednesday had on your life? And how did it lead to you becoming a photographer?
Well, yeah, Weird Music absolutely had the biggest impact on my entire life. Like, it changed who I am. It changed what I was into. I didn't used to go to shows. I thought, like, why not just get drunk at a party and, have a good time and, meet people. And then I started going to shows. It's actually UV Hippo at Weird Wednesday on my birthday in like 2016 or something. I went and I just had fucking blast and danced my ass off. And from pretty much that moment on, I just decided that I wanted my life to be devoted to music in some way, but I'm not a musician. I'm not any good I'm tone deaf. But I wanted to be in the music industry somehow. And then the need came up for Chris Salvato, Weird Music. Chris Salvato, you're the man. He needed content production. So I was like, all right, I used to take pictures in high school. So I'll pick up a camera again, see what I can do. And the rest is history, man.
And the rest is history. So this is a photography podcast. These two are some fucking killer live music photographers. We're going to dive deep. We're going to nerd out. I know Adam's got some questions for Doug. So what's up, Adam?
I don't know. Well, Doug, you're the fucking man, first of all. Like, I literally...
I started the same way, brother.
But Doug, I started off asking you a shit ton of questions. We met at, I think, Woodlands way back in the day.
Several times, yeah.
Yeah. And I started bouncing questions off of you on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff. And you were always like, fucking like 2 minutes later, you'd be like, oh yeah, the thing is you're using auto ISO and you just want to like, keep that in the 400, 800 range because it's way too grainy what you're doing here. And it's like, oh man, thanks. And like you helped my growth like a shit ton, man. It's really cool. And I love it.
And now you're crushing it.
Thanks, man. You're fucking man, dude. Like what Kiss, Talking Heads, Dave Matthews Band, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Neil Young, Roger Waters. What the fuck? Like, that's fucking awesome, dude.
Those have been fun.
Yeah. Do you have a most memorable show or festival? And why would it be that?
Why would it be that? One of the first ones was when I moved to San Diego. I kind of got on the team with the Live Nation people, which, they kind of have taken over and they're everywhere. So I kind of jumped on a team with some guys I knew in California, and they kind of steered me in the right direction when I lived there, because sometimes out there you have to be with some of the bigger named folks to get into shows. And I kind of put my name in a basket and got chosen. And the first tour or the first show I got chosen to work for them was a Roger Waters show in 2012. And we're sitting, in the back looking at all these, it was like 48 big old semi trucks full of gear. And we're sitting there in the back, and this is actually the back of where they shot Almost Famous, and it's actually where he did all the underground shots down in that tunnel and that little space for that movie. And I'm like looking around, noticing it, and then a limo pulls up, and there's a couple of them, but Roger Waters walks off, and without necessarily having a filter, looked over, and I'm just like, man, I hope you killed it tonight, brother. Looks over, winks at me, and I'm like, oh, tonight's going to be fun. And so they let us shoot. It wasn't a first 3. It wasn't a first 15 minutes. They let us kind of go back and forth because we were partly with the crew, letting us dip in and shooting the wall, come down, shooting Vera, not necessarily the first 15 minutes or first 3, but that was a very memorable show just because how long I've wanted to shoot Roger Waters and see the wall and its production. And being in San Diego is also weird because I'm getting tapped on about 10 minutes into the show. I look back, it's the mayor of San Diego, Tony Hawk, and Corey Feldman.
What the hell?
Sitting right behind me. And I accidentally called Corey Feldman Corey Haim, which is his buddy who has since moved on.
Oh.
And, just embarrassed. Then I realized I just shouldn't talk to anybody. I just need to work.
Yeah.
So, it kind of like brings you out, and you're just like, okay, that was maybe not the best idea. Just be professional, don't bother people, go get the images you want. So that was a very, very memorable show. I also have very good memories of some of the earlier festivals. I'm 45 years old. I've been shooting kind of on and off since the 90s. In the 90s, it was mostly for fun. I went to University of Vermont, got to shoot some early Phish shows, some early jam band scene, and some of the early festivals before they got huge. Like I shot a couple early Bonnaroos and Coachellas, and some of those were very memorable because they hadn't gotten to quite the scene that they are now. And I kind of liked shooting the early days of those. So that will always be a memory. I actually have a koozie from the first Bonnaroo still over here that people see, and they're like, is that really from the first one? And I think Ashley Capps, who was the original, Bonnaroo, Forecastle, all those festivals, looked at that one time when I was actually at a Forecastle festival, and he's like, can I have that? I'm like, you don't have old year one Bonnaroo koozies? He's like, no, man, those are long gone. I'm like, I kept it. So some of those old memories are very stapled in my brain. But with that being said, I also have great memories of some of the, the smaller, more intimate shows. In San Diego, I got to do some of the smaller shows that's called the Belly Up, and it is in Solana Beach. But they have brought some of the bigger bands to their stage and kind of had secret performances, and got to see the Chili Peppers, some of them in very, very small bars, which will forever be a memory. Usually in these giant pits shooting music, and those nights we were just kind of running around this little baby stage shooting bands that you haven't seen in a non-arena scene for years. And that always just is forever lasting. And it seems like the band, it's all camaraderie. The band likes it just as much because they're so happy to be playing for their buddies in this small bar in Solana Beach, California.
A lot less pressure.
Which, yeah, you can just tell they're like, I've interviewed some of them back in those days, and they're like, we love doing this just as much as you guys love being there because we can actually see your faces. We can see the expression of our old school fans, and just sit there and be able to just have a blast and rock out and see every single person's face in the venue, and not just be staring at an arena full of people. And, with those arenas comes so much lighting that they can't really tell what's going on, that they could be in Springfield, they could be in San Diego. Some of those shows so much go together that I think some of those small shows are really amazing for them. With that being said, I also got to see the Beastie Boys play one of their last small shows at the Orange Peel in Asheville, which used to be one of my house gigs when I lived there. And that to me was just like seeing, I'd seen Beastie Boys, Lollapalooza, obviously main big stages, but going back to the small stages where they started, you can really get the vibe that tonight we're going to turn this up and we're just going to destroy this place. And that to me is like what it's all about music wise. And sometimes you can catch photos in there that you can tell how much they're having a blast as well, just taking it back to the roots. So those are ones that stand out.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about too. It's just all about like that feeling with like that first show that I went to that like changed like what I do, like what I spent my free time and money on.
Sure.
Like that's what it was all about. Just cutting the fuck loose and like getting down.
Yeah.
I remember actually, that was one of the moments. Another moment was it was actually Scarlet and Gray Cafe, Weird Music, Weird Wednesday, and it was a Pigeons Playing Ping Pong show. And it's when I fell in love with pigeons playing ping pong. So and I'm up there, and I used to get like really stuck in my head at shows. I still do sometimes, but like really a lot of anxiety and stuff. But I was like, I just completely lost all of that, and I was just up there like in the middle, just like fucking just like dancing. That then all of a sudden I'm like, man, I probably look like a fucking moron right now. And I like stopped and I looked around me, and everybody's just like getting it and just dancing and dancing. Exactly. And everybody looks like a fucking moron right now. This is awesome. Like I can do whatever, and I can feel so comfortable doing it. It was awesome. But yeah.
Sometimes you got to move in that pit, or people think we're a bunch of stiffs that are there for work. It's like, no, we're there for the music just as much as anybody else.
No doubt.
Like just because we're wearing all black doesn't mean we're not here to.
Just because we have a bunch of weird stuff hanging from our holsters doesn't mean we're not here to get down too.
No, not a transformer.
So I want to ask this next question, and this is for both of you. Doug, you can go first. That was an awesome answer, by the way. Great. Holy shit. Really great. If I could get a time machine, I would love to have accompanied you on all that.
Some of those old shows were very exciting.
So it's obvious, from already in this conversation, deep love of live music with all three of us. And that's, certainly why, like, we're all involved with it. Yes, like photography can get you into show. It can make some money. Question though, it's
sometimes.
Operative word some. Like, photography is an art, and maybe you didn't get involved with it because necessarily you were just passionate about photography. But from doing it for all the years, have you developed a deep connection to the craft of photography? Like, I'd love to hear from your perspective. Why is photography such an awesome thing?
I love photography first and foremost from outdoor sports. I really got into it because I'm a whitewater kayaker, and I was a sponsored skier growing up when I lived in Vermont and Oregon and some of those places. Not so much in Cincinnati now. I heard they have a hill around here. No, but I got into it first and foremost for shooting nature. Just because I loved shooting nature. Then I was like, all right, I'll play around with, weddings, all that stuff. But I started to think outwardly like, okay, what are my favorite things? And obviously music has always been one of my favorites. My parents were cool with me going to Grateful Dead shows, to Lollapalooza shows back in the days. And I'm like, I think I was at a show and I saw this guy up there in the pit, not getting hassled by anybody, and had all the free room to move with like the band winking at him. I'm like, that's a cool job. And I'm like that, So I shoot, and I wonder what it takes to get into doing that. And so I kind of did the same thing as Adam. Like, I was like, well, I like shooting, and I have a pretty good network of music people. I knew kids in college that became managers of bands, started merch companies, all that stuff. And I'm like, how hard is it to do that? So then and there, I knew I wanted to shoot music. The question is it going to encompass like half of my life, or is it going to be something on the side? And I've kind of gone back and forth doing both. I have a 14-year-old, so I have responsibilities to stay around where national tours could be hard to get into, but you can see so much live music in so many places, from the small venues to the big venues, that kind of just, let's just start one little step at a time. It was literally like, okay, I have a connection to this band. Let's go see if I can go shoot for them one night. And then if I don't shoot anything else, that's fine. But then the venue starts to use your photographs and be like, okay, now I got this venue that likes my work and maybe I can get paid. And then you kind of revolve that and you start to get to know these people, and it just becomes a whole process. And before you know it, you're like, oh, kind of got into this. It's not like one of those, I never knew the process back when I used to see people do it or go to festivals and be like, oh, I want to shoot. Well, you either have to be with, I was told back in the day, you either have to be with a band, production,
or
media outlet that, like some of them, Coachella, Bonner, you have to be at a media outlet where you have to have so many unique views. You have to have so many followers. They have to be in, or you're just going to get, sidelined and not make it that year. But I started to realize, okay, if I shoot for this group, I can do this, and then maybe I'll get a chance to do this. And I think that's what everybody does, is like they keep on trying to grow with the craft and grow in your own shooting style. We're like, okay, I can get put up with very minimal light and try to shoot Tool when Maynard's like 50 feet back hiding behind a speaker and I have low light. Can I do this? And, with photography, especially low light photography and shooting venues, which are a lot of the times dark, you start to be like, okay, if I can shoot this, everything else becomes easier.
For sure.
Like, wow, I actually can have controlled light. Now this is so much easier that I think music is one of the hardest things to shoot. And it really, it's its school in its own. It really, you have to sit down and be like, wow, no, there's no flash. I have to have better gear. I have to know how to work my gear. I know how to, whether you're shooting film or you're shooting, digital, I have to just go around this to get what is required. Sometimes in low light, sometimes in 3 songs, sometimes you have 8 minutes. You're jostling around other people and you either get the shot or you don't. And so photography has been a long step, but I think the music part really, really checks your game. And I think music photography and everybody that does it has to step up and really learn their craft well to be able to shoot quality images at low light. And I love music. Music almost trained me without having a mentor. Music is the mentor. And being in these places where you're like, wow, this is a band I've wanted to shoot since I was a kid. I'm finally here. Don't mess up. It's not a bride telling you not to mess up. It's like yourself being like, I'm my own worst critic. Get this, nail this, go with it. So
when it comes to creating anything, like that tension of, fuck, this is a big opportunity that I could completely fuck up.
Oh yeah.
That is what, to me, like gets the cobwebs off of me. Like that is what I love.
Yeah, I do too. It's an adrenaline rush on its own.
Yeah,
yeah, it is. It's its own little thing. Like the feeling you get when I'll never forget shooting my first Stones shoot, and I'm like 5 minutes from Mick Jagger, and I look up, and I'm like, I'm gonna do something stupid. And then you don't, and you're like, all right, go with this. Or I only shot Prince once, but the adrenaline flowing through, obviously didn't know he was going to pass several years later, but in a weird little arena where they shoved us in the middle of the hole on Prince's emblem. And there were 5 of us just stuck in there. You know, we're all sitting there like, well, yeah. And then
Some asshole
is he gonna, you know, they didn't give us any leads. Is he coming out of a little red Corvette? And this one dude was holding up he was not a music photographer. He was somebody that got the credentials, but he was holding a big iPad in front of us. And I'm like, I ain't letting this guy get between me and getting a few print shots. So goes, yeah.
in the ribs.
No, I'm getting this. I'll arm wrestle you, buddy. So anyway, I think music photography it's fun. It's challenging. There's always adrenaline with it. Get to meet your favorite band sometimes, but you know, without annoying them and being that photography guy that, you know, how many people really like getting their picture taken? I'm not one of them. So, will you pose for me? No, man, get it on the fly. And I think they will like you a lot longer and not be like, who's that newbie that wants a picture with me? Like, nah, don't care. So,
No doubt.
So Adam, let me ask you this question in a slightly different way.
What was the question again?
So photography, like it's your craft. You're building a career around it. It's an art. My question, like let's say your younger cousin, like a hypothetical 7-year-old younger cousin, asked you, "Hey Adam,"
I don't have any younger cousins.
hypothetical,
hypothetically,
why do you love photography? Like, what about it's so cool?
So
How would you describe it to them?
I have an answer to this. So like I always like growing up, I was like good at math and science stuff, you know, and then I liked art a lot, but I wasn't that good. I wasn't that good at like, you know, technology stuff, played a lot of video games. So I was like in this weird like technology / art / nerd kind of, you know, class of kids. And when I found photography, it felt like really natural to me because it's very much, you know, art in the way it's like, okay, you determine your composition, you determine, you know, where the light's coming from, you determine like, yeah, composition basically, you know, and subject and whatever. But then there's also like, well, this is a sweet new piece of technology that has all these like gadgets and gears and knobs and gizmos that can alter what you're doing. So it's like, oh, I love learning about that. So I'm gonna nerd the hell out about that, and then art the hell up about, you know, composition stuff.
and every time I see Berta, he's doing a new craft, like holding something up differently or a new piece of gear.
Yeah, I love
You
it.
can tell you're paying attention to it, and you never stop working, man. It's so fun to see.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks, dude.
You're rolling around, getting the new angles, making sure you got the bounce off the tent. Like,
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah, it's fun to see.
I appreciate it.
Holding up those like weird festival like LSD glasses, putting it in front
Uh-huh.
of you.
Did those,
Those do some cool tricks.
they're called oh fuck, I just forgot it.
Kaleidoscope.
Light diffracting? Is that refracting? Refracting?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, whatever. Something like that. But was that the question?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
That was a great answer. Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
photography's so cool. Like my memory sucks, but it's like you can make a memory live forever. Like
yeah,
you remind someone of something that is so instrumental to like the story we tell ourselves about who we are. Like when we think back on our life, what is special, what matters, and it's almost like photography can be that. Like it really triggers
true.
that.
hmm
Like smells, like it smells like my grandma's cookies from when I'm a kid, and that can activate the
It
psychology.
does. It triggers like.
Photography
Oh,
is-
I don't remember that festival. That was a busy festival, or that was a busy summer full of festivals. And then you see 10 images, and you're like, oh yeah,
I remember that moment.
I remember that exactly. Never mind, you know, which is why I like. It's fun to capture, and I think bands like that too, because you know they go through such a
Like they're grinding.
cluster of like when they're really working hard. And there's so many nights on tour. I think sometimes it's fun to see somebody you admire so much as a musician be like, well, can I use that for something I'm working on? You're like, yes, you can.
Hell
And
yeah,
I would love it if you do, because wouldn't be there if I didn't love your music. So
for sure.
yeah,
I think another thing that's really freaking awesome about photography is that, like, so when you take a really good picture of someone that is just like in their fucking spot, their fucking time and space, like that is who they are, and they're like they're having a great time
in their zone.
Yeah, and they everybody looks at themselves with a certain lens on. You know what I mean? You never look in a mirror and are expecting to see. You're always expecting to see what you think of yourself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you get a great candid of somebody that is just like super happy, they see that and they're like, "What the wow!" Like, holy shit! They're like, it blows their mind sometimes, and that is like the most rewarding thing ever. Like when somebody buys a picture that you took of themselves, because they're so blown away about like how happy they look and how like good they look because they're so happy. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, honestly, it is underrated how freaking awesome it is, especially from the perspective like Adam takes so many fan shots that are so awesome. I know how like more than I can count people whose like favorite picture ever of them is a picture Adam took.
Yeah.
Me, a number of my friends, the only picture we have together he took.
Right.
And yeah, it is fucking awesome. And man, if only we could figure out a way to have a little bit more revenue there. Right.
I agree with that.
You're not wrong.
I agree with that. Sometimes we photographers, you got to hold your ground because it's an easy thing to be a yes man for and being like, yeah, I'll do this, whatever you want. But then it comes down to it and you're like, well, my day job makes a lot more money. I should be responsible, but this is so much more fun. And this is what I would love to be doing. This is my passion. It's also hard to kind of drop back and be like, yeah, ask a band that what kind of budget they're on, be like, look, this isn't UNICEF. I need to make a living too. And I think the contract part of it's hard and asking and constantly asking for, I don't want photo credit. I've worked my butt off. I want something that's going to make this viable for me because we're all helping each other. I'm helping promote you. You're helping promote me. It's kind of a mutually inclusive scene where, I mean, Adam, how many times over COVID have bands gone back and used images from the last couple of years where you're like, oh man, yeah, I'm not making that much money, not shooting right now. Photo credit doesn't pay my bills. Yeah. So it becomes a challenge, with that scene. But we obviously do it for love. And I think it's such a fun industry, but our one of the things that happens with photographers is so anybody shoots photography and likes music who wouldn't want to do what we do. So you can always have somebody come in and be like, oh, I'll do it for free. And that's great. But it kind of leaves you to be like, well, I'm trying to make in this industry too, help an artist.
I think it has like something to say about the integrity of the entity, like the band or the venue of what they're going to do. If they're going to pay for photos, they're going to pay for a photographer that they know can produce good images, or if they're going to, take somebody's iPhone shot from, the pit, like I think he says a lot about for sure how they want to be seen or how they treat other people.
You can always understand something by its details.
Right. Exactly. And you can tell the difference between an iPhone and some quality gear when you're shooting wide on a stage. You can see the little small outliers, on if you're shooting from a 16 to 35, you can see the outliers being crisp where, iPhone's not quite cutting it there. But the question is okay, this is our budget. We're going to do this.
Well, nobody's got a budget is made up. You know what I mean? Everybody says like, oh man, we'd love to, but we just don't have the budget for it. It's like, yeah, not yet until you make it. Come on.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
What would you say is the best way to make a living doing concert photography if you didn't have the responsibilities you have now, like, do you think working for publication would be best, or for a band, or for a venue, or flying around and working your ass off just trying to pick up all the gigs?
That's a tough question, because I think, you get in with, say, a group that like a Getty or Corbis or somebody, and you can go shoot whatever you want, right? And they'll bring you in and do all that, and they'll put you with one artist, or say you take a gig working with one band and they're like, we want you to be a tour photographer, which I think is a great way to do it, but doing the same thing over and over again, that gets hard as well. Like I like variety personally, so it doesn't always bother me that I have responsibilities like a 14-year-old. I wish I got started earlier. Wish I got started in my early 20s, where I could just dip out and do exactly what I wanted to and go with the bands but I think it's good to have a lot of different variety on what you shoot, like getting in with maybe a production company, also getting in with a festival group, where you're okay, they're going to hire me at these festivals, and those are my staple ones, so I can count on those, and they're paid. They might not be the best pay, but they are paid, and I like the variety of it. But I see the people that do the best in music photography kind of have their staple bands that they follow and do a lot of work for. But, I mean, honestly, a lot of venue photographers that are specific to one venue don't get paid that well, but they don't have to go. They can shoot any show they want at said venue, but it doesn't necessarily lead to, it creates a lot of variety, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not it's a steady gig. It's just, it's hard to explain. It's
not lucrative, not super.
It's not as lucrative. It's like, well, yeah, we could, if you left, we've got 3 other guys in line, girls, guys, whatever. We've got other people like lined up that are pretty good music photographers. I think the best way to do it right now would probably be to get in a group that has constant venues over the country with different bands, so that you're constantly challenging yourself. You're having new experiences with different bands and different lighting setups. But
to get in tight with those companies that represent those
yeah,
that's a good call. Yeah, because I mean, like, the variety thing is so it is important. I think one of the things that we enjoy about concert photography is that challenge. Like you mentioned it earlier. Like it's difficult when you don't know what to expect to make good images.
Yeah.
But like when you do get comfortable doing it, it's like all right, then on halfway through this song, the singer's gonna I
know. Yep, I know what's happening. There's gonna be a jump. Yeah. There's gonna be a jump shot here.
Yeah, or something like that.
Crowd dip down. Yeah.
But it's damn near impossible if you don't have a group of like a business that represents all these acts. If you're not in tight with somebody like that, I feel like it's got to be impossible, because that's what I've been trying to do, for the past few years. And you cannot send enough emails. Like, it's not just,
that's true.
Like you send them to the band managers, and it's just like, it's such a grind. It's so disheartening. I feel like that's a great to go for the managing groups and just tell them that you will work anything they want, basically.
Mm-hmm.
This has been freaking awesome. So this next question I'll ask you, we normally have musicians on the podcast. Definitely love having those behind the scenes. So with improvisational music, like, people can learn a number of like life skills through it. You can staying present, listening, thinking on your feet. So my question, having the opportunity to have 2 incredible photographers, like, have you learned any life skills? And Doug, you can go first, and then Adam, have you ever learned any, like...
I'll go first. Literally what you just said. staying present, thinking on your feet, and I'm sorry, go for it.
No, that's exactly it.
You just nailed it, like just now, like those.
So they're similar.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're doing. Like we're improvising up there, like kind of like we're trying to make them look good while they're doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're good. I asked my question.
Right.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree. It's very different between bands that do a lot of the same things over and over again. Like a lot of tours, like you can see, and I've even been to music festivals where I'm like, okay, this band, I know they're going to do this set list and run through, but then you work, more of a jam band festival, and it's, that at any moment somebody could jump out, somebody could do this, and you got to be on your toes as much as their music is. And you got to just constantly be ready for change because it's bound to happen. And if you don't catch that, you're kind of sleeping on the night. Like I almost left a show a couple years ago, and I almost went in because there was another act coming out, but then Bootsy and Les Claypool got out and started getting bass heavy next to each other. And that's, to me, what that show was. Right. So you missed that. Yeah. So you gotta be on your toes, and they don't the band managers don't always give you the heads up, because they're like, hey man, got to pay attention. Got to, life lessons. It teaches you to just constantly focus and read what the band's going to do. And sometimes it's same old thing, but you're looking for something that other people don't have, right? You're looking for the stuff that really stands out from that particular night, from that particular tour. So yeah, it's very improv.
Let's dive a little deeper down this. What makes the difference between the many mediocre good photographers and then a great photographer?
I mean,
oh boy.
Look at what you just said. And like it's about getting the like.
So
like if you ever see like all the photographers run towards one spot in the pit, like during something happening, like I know that Joe, you probably do this too. Like I try to like step back because they're all getting that same shot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not saying I'm a great photographer, but like they're all getting that same shot. There might be something else that's about to happen that's like could be freaking awesome.
Well, you got to realize too, at the big festivals, something's happened on stage right, and then say you post up at stage left and they go over there and do something pretty wild, and you're the one that catches it. That's what's going to hit. I mean, that's what a lot of the people that shoot, a lot of wire service for like Getty really want, is they want the original, this person with this person, or this exact pose, or that stuff. And, sometimes just because they're kneeling over doesn't mean they're going to go to the other side of the stage and do something. And yeah, you don't always want to follow the madness, because something can always happen on the other side that you're not quite ready for. Or yeah, I agree. It's a fine line between reading the audience or going wide or going, telephoto, or do you want the passion of the singer right there? Or is something going on behind the thing? I think having ADD is a gift in photography, because I constantly look around like, oh, what else is going on? You know what I mean? Like, oh, look, at the drummer and the bassist are doing this weird stuff back there, even though the singer's got everybody's attention over here. There might be a moment over there too, where it's like, you kind of got to be, or the crowd's going nuts over here, and why are they going wild? And yeah, it's hard. I mean, small venues, it's totally different. You can kind of make your way over here, and it depends who's in the pit. But sometimes these pits are 100 people deep, like Palooza in Chicago. I mean, you're literally like, you're posting up here and get what you like. So sometimes I'll even like look at video of what's going on this tour and for these songs. So when I know there's going to be 100 people jostling for a shot, I will literally try to be like, oh, I think if they open with this, I want to be over left because I think this might happen, when you might not be able to move that well. It's different, small versus big venue, but sometimes in the big venues, when you can't, I mean, some bands, you got to be right at this line. Don't go left this line, or you're hitting our video cam crew that's doing all the live feeds up on the boards, at Blossom or a big thing where they're like, no, you're not allowed to go here. I mean, I shoot a lot at Riverbend here, and our pit is one person deep. So you're not getting to the other side of the stage. You want to do a little bit of research to figure out where you might want to be, where the jump shot is, where the wide angle versus telephoto shot is, and can never hurt to do too much homework, right?
That's actually funny. I actually had a question for you. That was, what would you consider the most important prep work when it comes to shooting a new act or a new venue? And I mean, just like doing that homework on just like what does this venue look like? What does a pit look like? That's cool.
And you never know. And the problem is a lot of times they change from act to act.
Yeah.
Like I shot two Riverbend shows in a row. And let's just say Iron Maiden had an entirely different setup than the band before that. And I went on and researched our last couple of shows to figure out where I might want to be. We got moved to a soundboard anyway. So we had to go back and, shoot telephoto from a soundboard and not in pit, because sometimes they'll do that when there's that many people there and a lot of people are approved to shoot. Sometimes it has to do with like I was all set up to get certain shots that I saw people were getting on one tour, but because of like Riverbend smaller, their pyrotechnics were too close to us. So they told us there's no chance we're in pit.
Huh.
So
yeah.
Then it's like, I got to reevaluate this word. Okay. So I'm shooting back. What's my new angle for shooting way back here? Okay. I want wide stage and I want the flames going up with that. Like it changes all the time, especially in big venues.
I had the same problem. I got hired by a production company called Steez Productions out of Baltimore to shoot Excision in Columbus.
Okay.
And also they never paid me because COVID hit after that. So I just want to put a little nudge out there. Like you guys said, like, oh yeah, hey, like anyway.
Don't declare no bankruptcy, crackers.
but yeah, the Excision show, which was like freaking nuts, like just assholes at elbows, like packed to the gills and like pyrotechnics everywhere. But yeah, there's no pit.
Right.
Like, you guys hired me to fucking shoot this show,
but
no pit, like, and it's just completely sandwiched everywhere. It was an experience.
This is the money shot, but I can't get anywhere near it.
Exactly.
And it's not because you didn't do your homework. It's just because things change so constantly that you're like, well,
use a lot of monopod shots on that.
Yeah.
So you really got to like fucking roll with the punches and get the best with what you got.
Completely. I mean, it's people like, oh man, like how many times I've been yelled at, get out of my face, paparazzi. Like just because I'm 6'3", I've had a beer poured on my back at a like fairly, I'm not going to name the band, but a fairly rockin' show. I had a beer poured on me because I'm actually shooting for said band, and I got a beer poured down me, and I know the security, I got him kicked out, which I don't enjoy to do, but I'm like, dude, just because I'm in front of you for 5 minutes doesn't mean, like, for several years, people would even be like, I'm sorry, I know I'm tall and lanky, but I'll at least give you a print. And I think mine would probably turn out because, your cell phone right here, I'm like, if you really want to, and like, I try to go and do my due diligence on going up and being like, look, man, we're here for 5 minutes. I'm trying to get a shot. Yeah, I might move in front of you, but this is kind of the norm. I apologize for being tall, but there's been some weird things. I lost a $1,800 lens because somebody decided to pour beer down it.
Oh shit! What lens was it?
What's that?
What lens was it?
It's a 70-210 Canon 2.8. It wasn't a show I was staying for, and yet I'm out a very expensive lens. So
Hey, can we do some like a rapid fire questions real quick?
Yeah.
Adam Berta,
for Doug.
speed round.
All right, speed
speed
round.
round.
What camera system? Canon, you said?
Yeah.
All right, you switching to mirrorless?
I have one mirrorless already.
Yeah, Sony, what are you doing? You doing Canon?
I have a Fuji.
You got Fuji. Okay, I've heard good things about the color reproduction. All right.
Yep.
Favorite lens ever?
1635-28.
Interesting. Auto ISO with
Manual everything.
yeah, but what about you could choose your exposure compensation? That's what I've been doing recently, and it's been working really well.
That's not a bad way to go either, especially with heavy front lights.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it
Spot
can
metering all the time.
jump around and compensate when you might not be able to compensate on the fly. What was the next question?
Or entire frame metering.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, which do you use? Spot metering?
Oh, that all depends. Matrix if I'm wide, spot if I'm more telephoto.
Cool. All right. Shit. I think that's all I had. Should have had more questions for the speed round.
Speed round.
This has been fucking awesome. I still don't really understand photography at all.
You're like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah. No, I know. I think I was watching a video with Katie. It's like, I know what f-stop is.
Yeah.
A little bit.
What is it?
I said a little bit.
A little bit.
Size of the opening in the lens.
Hell yeah. Well, Doug, Berta, I mean, this has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Where can they find your photos?
Focal points at local joints. You can look that up on any social media outlet, or my website is bertaphoto.com.
Bertaphoto.com.
And I'm Doug Siegel photography.carbonmade.com or at Doug C. Siegel, Insta, and the other places.
Check out his shit. It's awesome. He's got all the like biggest superstars. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
He's
you're the man.
Adam's crushing it. And I hope to see all you guys like every weekend from now on.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
I'm actually going on the road with Goose, man.
I thought I heard that.
Oh really? That's cool.
I thought I heard you might be dude, Goose is on fire too.
Dude, they are on fire.
Goose is
Goose.
Just every time I see them, I'm like,
it's one of those bounds, right? It's like every time you see them, it's just like, what the fuck?
I agree. Every time I see them, I'm like, I always bring like 4 new people, and they're like, this band is on fire.
Boom,
like every time I hear them, I'm just like, yep. I mean, Pigeons, all of them. Like, there's so much good stuff coming out. I got a week with Rage, so
Dude,
you won't do what you tell me.
Dude, that's fucking unreal.
I'm looking forward to that. That's probably going to be wild. It's my buddy doing video, and I have a couple spots for a couple dates, and
amazing.
we got the whole show and everything. So I am absolutely. I think that's going to be fun.
Let's fucking.
I haven't seen Zach De La Rosa since like the '90s, and I'll just want to see him just tear it up, and he's fun to shoot. So
doubt he is. Holy shit!
Yeah,
he used to do all the craziest shit.
He's a wild man.
Oh man, well, this has been awesome. Weird
Music
Podcast Photo Edition. Bong bong.
Holla!
Give us a subscription. What's
yeah.
up?